Hi and welcome to another gaming video, and in today's video I'm going to take a look at my Nintendo Game Boy. Now you've seen this in previous videos if you've been watching my channel, and it works, but it is just this awful stained yellow brown colour, and I'd come to the conclusion I wasn't going to do anything with it, and now I've changed my mind. So this is the sort of colour it should be, so you can really see the sort of colour difference. So I am going to be using the hydrogen peroxide method to try and get some of the colour out of this. So I've gone out and I bought some of this cream peroxide. This is a 12% peroxide. This little bottle was about £1.60. This should do both the front and the back of this very nicely. So that is what it currently looks like. You can see the colour difference. And I'm now going to go and take this apart and get this ready to be, well, smeared in hydrogen peroxide and see if we can get some of this colouring out. So now I've gotten the Game Boy ready. It is the next day because I want to make sure that I have a full day to RetroBright this. So the Game Boy has been taken apart. It's been given a good sort of another wash to make sure it's all nice and clean. I've taken the screen lens out and I've taken the battery contacts out. So let's get started. So I've got my bottle of hydrogen peroxide. In fact, I've got two just in case, and a paintbrush, and I've just gone and purchased some cling film. So let's safety first. Let's just get these gloves on because, well, this is hydrogen peroxide. It's meant for bleaching hair, and some cling film. So get as much cling film out as possible. I am doing this outside because I know just how bad it can get. So let's start with, undo the hydrogen peroxide. Now this is the cream stuff. I've seen a lot of people do it with the liquid, which you just put these in a bucket and fill it with the hydrogen peroxide liquid, but I couldn't get the liquid, so I've got the cream here. And we'll start off with the front. So we just pour it all over. I'm going to do it to the back while I'm here. And you want to cover as much surface as possible. And then take a paintbrush, preferably a clean one, and just make sure you spread that cream everywhere. You want the whole surface to be absolutely covered in it. This is why I bought, oh dear, this is why I bought two, just in case. So cover it top and bottom and every edge and crevice. Just smear as much of that on as possible. The same with the back, just get it in everywhere. The back's got more grooves in, so I want to just make sure that the whole thing is covered in this horrible liquid. It doesn't really matter if you get it on the cling film, that'll just wrap around it anyway. So just make sure you get it in all the little bumps and all the little bits that you get on a Game Boy shell. Inside these buttons, inside the speaker grill. Right, and just for the sake of it, I'm just going to finish the bottle off. Actually got more out of this than I expected. So there you go. Get that everywhere. And then you take your cling film, and I probably should have done this separately. So let's just, so I can wrap them up separately. Oh, I hate cling film. So you want to make sure you have plenty of cling film because it needs to be thoroughly wrapped. So you take your whatever piece of the shell you're doing. I'm doing the bottom half first. So you take your cling film, which luckily still has lots of liquid all over it, and wrap it, and make sure it's wrapped tight. Like so, because the cling film will keep everything in and help it sweat. And we'll do the same to the other side. Ooh. So we take the top shell. It's got plenty of excess fluid all over it. Just even that out a little bit. Once again, fold it over and make sure that the whole thing is sealed. That's why you need plenty of cling film. And once it's all tucked in and sealed, just squidge it around, flatten out. What's in there. So that is pretty much it done. Now, I don't have a UV lamp, so I'm going to be trying to do this outside in the sunshine. So I'm going to put it on a piece of board and move it to somewhere that's in direct sunlight. So I'm just going to take you with me. So what you need to do is find somewhere that is absolutely blistering sun. So up here will do for now. I might have to move it around the garden and just basically leave it in the sun. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to leave this out there for, well, as long as I've got sun, which today it should be pretty good. Should be able to leave it out here for about 4 or 5 hours. And then we'll come back and check it. And now that I've got a few hours to kill waiting for the plastics to sit in the sun, I'm just going to give the board and everything on the inside a bit of a clean over. I have already done this once, but it never hurts to just give everything a good clean. So that's the two boards cleaned over. I'm just going to put them over here to be safe. So my outer shell plastics are sitting in the garden waiting to be, well, being bleached hopefully. And I've just given the buttons another soak in a bucket of water. Put these up out the way, ready to be put back in when, well, hopefully the hydrogen peroxide has worked and it's got a bit of a better colour. So it is now about, well, 11 o'clock, just gone 11. My Game Boy has been outside for 2 hours and I thought, well, I've got 2 bottles of this peroxide stuff. I'm not going to use it for anything else. So let's just make sure it's well and truly absolutely smothered in it. So I've opened up the cling film, opened up the second bottle, and I am just absolutely annihilating it with this Kareem peroxide. Making sure every single surface, every single nook and cranny and spot is covered, as you can see. So then it's just a case of re-sealing the cling film. Try not to move too much of it because I want as much of it in there as possible. It's very squidgy. Just make sure it is well and truly sealed because it's the heat reaction that seems to do it, and you don't want any of that to escape. So I've already done the back cover again, and now I'm going to leave it for another sort of 3 hours. The sun really is blistering today, so it's lovely, absolutely prime weather to do this. So my cases have been sitting in the sun for the last 9 hours, and I'm now about to take them out of the cling film and we'll put them in a bucket of water to wash them off and see whether it's worked. Now, there's still a lot of cream everywhere. It's very warm. First impressions, though, it does look like it's done something. So I'm just going to unravel this rather wet and slimy cling film. This is the front. It's pretty hard to tell, but I think it's done quite a good job. So I'm just going to put them in a bucket and go and, well, wash them. And here is a bucket with them in. So I'm just going to give them a little wash outside first. Get some of this hydrogen peroxide off. And see what we're facing. Just get rid of that. So this is me just giving them a bit of clean off. Just make sure there's no hydrogen peroxide left. I will give them a proper clean as well. Get a bit full there. Alright, so just wash off any excess and probably give it a good clean when I get it indoors, but that is the gist of it. And we'll just rinse that off. Get that chemical off there. I'll probably give it a proper good scrub when I get it indoors. But I am so far extremely pleased with the outcome of that. So if you'd watched the start of this video or you'd seen some previous other videos, you'd have noticed that was a very brown colour. It's pretty much looking the same on the inside as it was on the outside, and well, there we go. That's really taken the colour out of that. It's brought it back to pretty much what it should have been, I think. So here we have it. This is the shell. I left it overnight, make sure it was fully dry, and I am absolutely enthralled by this, how it worked. I wasn't expecting it to, well, be so good. I thought it might have pulled some of the colour out, but it's pretty much brought it back to a brand new Game Boy. I will put some shots up of what it looked like before and after, but anyone who'd seen my previous videos will know that the back looked a completely different colour, because this is a third party back, because my Game Boy came without one. So I bought this, and you could really tell the difference, whereas now you pretty much can't. I would say that the battery back is slightly darker, but the colour of it is insane. Up the top here there was a well, obviously someone had left a cartridge in quite a lot, so this was still quite grey, but there was a brown strip up here. The whole thing was just brown. It looked a sort of nicotine stained colour. I wasn't entirely sure how it would come out, and there is a chance that if you're using the cream that it can give you patches or streakiness, but there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with that at all. It is just it's brought that colour out back to how it should be. That is Game Boy colour, so I'm so glad I did it. So the final thing to do is to put it all back together and make sure it works, so I'm going to do that now. And there we have the finished put together product. So I'm now just going to put some batteries in. You may have seen in that little montage that I put the battery contacts in upside down, which kept making the batteries pop out, but that's quite an easy fix, especially if you've got third-party batteries. So there you go, they fit in there much nicer. So let's pop the battery back on. That is lovely colour, and grab a game and see if it works. Well, it works, we know that. It turns on and we've got sound, so everything seems to be pretty okay. Let's just pop a game in there. My copy of Tetris always does this. There we go. So that all seems to work. The screen is as good as it's going to be. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the screen, should I say. It's nice and clear and there's no lines or anything on it. It's just a Game Boy screen. So as you can see, it looks absolutely stunning. It looks just as it should do. The one final thing to do is to put the screen lens back on. Now this is going to be probably the third screen lens, because this is the lens that it originally came with. Very scratched and battered. As you can see, you can't really see much through it. So I did buy a new one and put it on, which works amazingly, but taking it off, it's kind of lost its stickiness in certain places, so I bought another one. And as it's been all cleaned up, and well, this is going to be left as it is, I decided to put a new screen lens on. So just make sure there's no dust under the screen, make sure that's nice and tickety-boo, because the only way then to clean it is to take it apart, which I don't particularly want to do anymore to this thing. Take your screen lens. Now this is another screen lens from the same place that I bought the last one, and it appears to only have one protective layer. I don't think there's one on the top of these, which is unusual. I don't know whether that is a layer on there or whether I am just scratching the screen. Oh, there might be. Yes, there is. So there was a protective layer on the last screen lens. So we take off the back layer. So this will reveal all the stickiness. And they are very easy to put on. So they just fit inside this groove here. Last time I did it, I had a bit of glue stuck there and it made the screen lens stick out, which is some of the reason I wanted to replace it anyway. So just make sure it's all nice and clean, and then you pop your screen lens in and it will fit in perfectly. And now I'll try and peel the protective layer off this one. I don't know whether it would have been easier to do it when it wasn't in the Game Boy, but there we go. So look at that. That is a absolutely pristine original DMG Game Boy. No modifications done. Replacement back, but it looks pretty okay, and some replacement battery contacts because the other ones had corroded so much. But as you can see, the UV and the hydrogen peroxide has done an absolutely amazing job. I cannot see a single mark. I can't see any smudges or bits where it hasn't covered properly. It looks as if the front possibly has done slightly better than the back. There's just a small coloration difference between the back and the front shell, but that's really hardly noticeable. What a fantastic job. So it's very easy to do. You just buy some hydrogen peroxide, which you can pick up in any sort of chemist. It's hair stuff. It costs about £1.60 a tub. You probably only needed one tub, but as I bought two, I decided to give it the whole hog. And wrap it in cling film and just leave it outside in sunshine. I left mine outside for about 9 hours, and that is the end result. So lovely new screen lens on there with the protector taken off. God, I love dodgy cartridges. And it is the cartridge. It's the only game that it does it on, and it does it on my son's Game Boy Pocket as well. So it's definitely the cartridge. And look at that. That is amazing. Now you can just about see, I think, if you catch it in the right light, a little wear and tear on the A and B buttons. That's obviously from constant use. But now I've got a fully working, fully restored, cleaned, and, well, RetroBrighted or sun bright, should we call it, because it's not actually RetroBrighten because it is done in the sun. You don't need a UV lamp to do it. it just looks amazing. I was very dubious about doing it. Heard lots of horror stories about it not working properly or it coming out patchy. And if I'm honest, I wasn't expecting it to work quite so well. But now I have this amazing original DMG Game Boy, absolutely fully restored and looking like it should, because it worked perfectly before, but that brown colour just started to bug me a little bit too much. And now it's gone. So I hope you liked this video. I hope you enjoyed following the entire restoration process of this Game Boy. I didn't pay a lot for it because of its condition, and it wasn't fully working. It had some loose battery contacts and a missing battery back. So for about, the battery back cost me about £2, so did the contacts, and I bought a screen lens because I knew I'd be cleaning it up and restoring it, and it's always a good idea to replace them. So there you go. Yes, sun brighting or retro brighting, whichever way you want to call it, it does work. You don't need UV light to do it. You just need some sunlight and some cling film and some hydrogen peroxide cream. You can do it with a liquid, but here in the UK that is very hard to get hold of. So I hope you like that. That is the end result. Link, like, subscribe, enjoy.